right, sorry. It took a little bit longer than usual. But you like that bumper music, right? That's good.
I do.
That's good. That's a good piece of composition right there.
I think so.
I think so. All right. Hey, Dr. David Levy is on the phone. He's a psychologist, a researcher, a professor at Pepperdine University, an actor, a media consultant. Wow, he's busy. And he's got a book. It's called Life is a Four-Letter Word, Laughing and Learning Through 40 Life Lessons. Oh, my gosh. I wonder if I've learned all of them. I'm going to see how many lessons I've learned. Dr. Levy, good morning. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Really appreciate it.
And where are you? Where are you calling from?
Santa Monica, California.
I
so
love
2,000 miles away.
I love Santa Monica. It is my favorite.
Oh, cool.
It's my second favorite city, besides New York.
And your first favorite is?
Well, I like New York. I'm a New Yorker.
Of course, I figured.
I lived in Santa Monica for a while.
I live right near the Interstate 10 freeway, and I tell my daughter, get on this freeway, drive for a few days, and you'll get off in Florida.
That's right.
It's awesome that the highway takes you across the country.
That's right. Robin and I were there in September, and I told her the same thing. I said, "This is the same road that goes through Jacksonville."
That's right. Jacksonville, Florida. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I used to live on 5th Street. I took Robin to where I used to live, and then we walked down to the beach so I could show her where I used to work, because I used to sold pizza.
Oh, fantastic. It's a beautiful area. I'm not quite near the beach, but close enough to get there if I need to.
Is that right? So let's talk about the book, and I think there might be even a way to connect what we're talking about to what you're talking about in the book.
Okay.
Tell me where the life lessons come from that are in the book.
Well, they come from my own experience. I've been around for about 65 years, and as you mentioned, I'm a professor and a psychologist, and I used to be an actor and a director. I'm an actor in recovery, so I still enjoy it, but I don't do it professionally the way I did in my 20s. But I've been collecting these little stories that happened to me throughout my life, and I would share them with students or occasionally with patients, and they really resonated with them because they were true, they were real, they were typically pretty funny, but each one has a life lesson. So it starts out with me at age 6, facing the childhood dread of getting a shot that takes me through my whole life up until age 60 with aging parents and a surprising comment that my father made right before surgery. So it really isn't an autobiography of me. It really is about the reader thinking about their own life lessons.
I love that.
Vehicle, so to speak.
I love that. Let's go back to the one word you said that they're somewhat funny. At least some of them are somewhat funny.
Yeah, they are.
I hope so. I'd like to think so. I try to get some fun stuff in it.
Do you know, I don't know that Robert and I tried to do a funny show, but we tried to do a light show, even though there's some heavy topics.
That's right.
But I wanted to tell you something about this. A couple of days ago, Robin was admiring these cadets, and they are, training to be in the military. And I have at times admired doctors because you do so much and you make lives better. And I said, what do we really do? We were having this discussion. We don't do anything compared to these people. They put their lives on the line. They save lives. And then it occurred to us that people tune in, and it contributes something. So maybe we're like a baker. We just put frosting on cakes or something.
I think it's more than that. I think people need things to look forward to. And I think that people enjoy humor. And also, life can be so heavy, we need, not just want, we need things lightened up. When I was in my teen years and 20s, I wanted to see deep, dark, depressing movies. No mas, not for me. I want to see stuff that's fun, that takes me out of things that in life can be really a downer,
Yeah, me too. I love stupid little movies. I love it. Actually, you know what I love more than stupid little movies? Those YouTube videos where dogs are chasing each other. I love those things.
That stuff, yeah. I'm on Facebook for the first time, and my favorite thing on Facebook are the animal videos. They're killing me. Cats, dogs, horses, donkeys, they're killing me, So a donkey falling in love with a cat. It's awesome. I love it,
So, can we talk about depression a little bit? And I don't mean to bring it down because we're having a good time here.
No, that's fine.
But I often don't, because I don't really have any experience with what is considered clinical depression. I don't really know what that's like, but I've met people who have been through that.
It's bad.
And so my simple life experience to watch a silly dog video pulls me out of being in a rut.
In a funk, yes.
But it's not going to do anything for them, right?
Well, I wouldn't say it won't do anything. To me, the best route out of depression is finding some kind of meaning. Whatever you're doing, it could be small, it could be big, but people who are depressed, almost across the board, Larry, have no meaning, whether it's in that hour or that day or that week. So finding meaning, and that could be done in a number of ways. When you're depressed, do a good deed for somebody. It'll lift your spirits. Exercise, that'll lift your spirits. But for me, the best one is find humor. Try to find humor. And it's not going to make your life better, but my God, without humor, life would be dreary.
Yeah. If you, my brother passed away this year, and we went to a memorial in Arizona. That's when we went to Santa Monica. I wanted to
Santa Monica, yeah.
So at the memorial, everybody was telling stories of memories.
Yes.
And you want to know something? Every one of them was funny.
Fantastic.
And people we're in a place at a time when people should be sad, and not that we weren't sad, but funny. And here I'm thinking he's there because I believe that there's an afterlife, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, I bet he's laughing. He's laughing listening to us tell this, right?
Absolutely, I hope so.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say in the book, and the life is a 4-letter word, let me tell you a brief story that's kind of what we're talking about. When I was 60, my dad was diagnosed with a really, really, really bad disease. He was diagnosed, not to bring you down, but there's a good ending, with pancreatic cancer. So as you know, that's a horrible sentence.
That is.
So we're all huddled around the hospital bed. He's going into surgery, and we're all crying and holding him. And this may be the last time we see our poor dad. And my dad turns to my younger sister and says, "Sweetheart, do you still have that piece of paper that says, don't take any extraordinary measures. Do not resuscitate. If I'm out, just let me go." She goes, "Yes, Dad, I have the paper." He goes, "Good. Tear it up." So that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's like it was sad and it was also funny and it was witty. My dad is now 92. He survived it. Thank God. But the fact is, there's an example of a life lesson from a potentially depressing, tragic situation.
So as we go
even if he hadn't made it, even if he hadn't survived, his willingness to embrace life was inspirational.
Yeah.
That for me was the lesson in that story.
Yeah.
And this book is truly a reflection of the reader, because even though the reader doesn't have the exact circumstances that you have the insight on, they're similar, and you're going to make somebody's life better with them reading what you write.
I'd like to think so. The book, I think you've seen, is full of everyday occurrences. The childhood fear of getting a shot, or losing to a computer at tic-tac-toe, or getting a traffic ticket. But the themes, everybody can relate to. Everybody understands what it's like to realize that you can't control other people, or how hard it is to live in the moment, or losing a pet, or feeling like an imposter. Everybody understands those feelings. And that's what the book is about. And it helps the reader find ways to go, "Oh, yeah, that's happened to me. I get that. And this can help me find meaning in my own life."
So tell me about the Zen stripper.
Oh, really? Isn't it too early in the morning for that?
Oh no, it's after 5 in Innsbruck, Austria.
Because
so
you talk to the.
Okay, well then it's good.
You talk to the stripper, right? In the little
I did
store?
talk to the stripper.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
And I was in my early 20s, and I walked into one of these. What do they call them? The euphemism, gentleman's club.
Yes.
I'm thinking,
I love that name.
Not for gentlemen, and it's no club. You know what I mean?
That's funny. That is funny.
And there's a sign, exotic dancers. I'm thinking, exotic? They're strippers. It's fine. No, exotic. You know what I mean?
Funny.
It's like, is it from Saudi Arabia? What's the exotic? From the East. So they have all these euphemisms. So I'm nervous, and I sit down, and one of the dancers or strippers sits next to me. She's very pretty, and I'd like to say she was an older woman. She was 25. I was 21.
There you go.
I look back and I go, schmuck, she is 25. She's not an older woman. So I started to ask her questions about what it's like, because I didn't. I was
Of course.
nervous, and it was, And she goes, "Well, when I started, I was nervous, and then it was nice to have the money raining down on me, and the attention is nice, but there's drugs in the back room, and it makes me depressed."
Oh, no.
And I asked her, "How do you cope? How do you get by?" And she responded, 3 minutes at a time. And I thought, that's
really?
the length of a song. When they're taking their clothes off, it's 3 minutes.
That's right.
There you go.
It was a very Zen-like response. Like in AA, they say 1 day at a time. Well, for her, it was 3 minutes at a time. Because if she thinks about what her life is like in the aggregate, it can get depressing. But she was able to cope by focusing down on small chunks. That's the lesson for me and my patients and students and readers. Chunk it down. Because at any given moment, I think you'll agree, at least I will, hope you do, even when your life is going through a rough patch, at any given moment, it isn't bad. Like in the moment. All there is what's happening in the moment.
That's right.
Even if something bad is going to happen next week, it isn't happening yet.
Right.
So if you can try to spend more time in the present, life becomes much more manageable and actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I like the part about intuition.
Yeah, now that's a tough one because my students fight back on this one. And because people want to believe in intuition, and I get it. I get intuitive hunches, and most of the time they're wrong. But we only remember when they were right. You know what I mean? You don't see it. People believe, for example, that when there's a full moon, suicide rates go up, or that homicides, they don't. There's no correlation at all scientifically between. But you never see a headline that says, the moon was full and nothing happened. We don't pay attention when things don't happen. Only when they do happen.
Because we love stories.
Exactly.
We love stories, and we need to believe in things that are bigger than us. And we feel intuition, we feel connected. So I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying there is time for intuition and there's time for facts. Intuition is great when you're doing art or maybe, but for other things, like when you fall in love with the wrong person, I'm just telling you and your listening audience, be careful. Your intuition may say, this is the perfect match for me. My answer is you don't know that yet. You don't know. You don't know in that first week or first month. It takes a while because your intuition can let you down because you want to believe things to be true, even if they're not.
So I have an intuitive thought about you.
Oh, please, and I hope it's a good one.
I'm looking at your bio here, and you're an actor and a psychologist. And I'm thinking that there's a thread that connects those two.
There is.
So that when you're acting, the psychologist that you are better understands how to portray whatever character you're portraying.
That's right.
And the other way around, right?
That's right.
Tell me that.
Exactly.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, it's about the human experience. I don't want to get too woo-woo, at this time in the morning, but it really is about human experience. Psychology is about understanding the human experience, and acting is about expressing human experience. When you see a really good performance on screen or on stage, you get moved emotionally because you resonate with it. You relate to it. And as a psychologist, my job is to help people feel understood and help them find their way through things. I found that most of the time, for most people, if they feel heard and understood with a bit of wisdom, they can get through things. It's when people get in their way, put them down, judge them, they begin to doubt themselves excessively, that's when they have problems.
Especially when it comes to failure.
There's a ton of overlap. Sorry?
Especially when it comes to failure.
Oh, man, that's the worst of all. Because when failure happens, it's hard to not take it personally. But, most of the time, Robin, it's not personal. In fact, the horror is that it's really impersonal. Do you know what I mean? The horror is the universe isn't malevolent. It's just that it might not even care about you. And that, for many people, is a scarier thought. So we search for meaning. So I'm not saying that meaning is necessarily in everything, but what we make of things actively is the key to me. It's the key.
I love this book. It's a it's a very insightful little book. It's called Life is a 4-Letter Word. Lots of little stories that will be meaningful to you as you read through them and relate to what Dr. Levy is writing about in the book.
Well, I appreciate that. I wrote the book with the style of like guerrilla warfare. You get in and you make the hit and you get out. I like to write that way. So each essay is like a page and a half long. Because I don't like, long form. No, I'm just not good at it. So I wrote a book where the reader can pick it up, read an essay, get a life lesson, put it down, and think about it for themselves. Then pick it up again an hour later. They don't have to read the thing straight through. It's one bite at a time.
So have you ever, maybe gone to a movie, watched a play, read a book, and the life story that's in front of you looks like your own, or at least part of it does, and it somehow soothes you or whatever?
If it's a good movie, I would say almost always. To me, a really good movie has to be a reflection of the audience. We have to relate to it. Otherwise, it's interesting sort of at a cognitive level. Right. But if we're moved by that story, we see it. When I was quite a bit younger, I would see movies like Midnight Cowboy, things like that. And I have no experience living in New York City way back then, but I related to the themes of feeling lonely or needing companionship. Everybody knows that feeling, Larry. Everybody knows what it feels like to feel alone and to seek companionship.
Yeah, I was not a big Star Wars fan. I know people hate when I say that, but I really wasn't.
I got to tell you, I'm with you. I hope I don't get hated either. It just didn't do it for me.
So maybe your reason is the same as mine, but I was a huge Rocky fan. And I think the difference was I didn't box, and I didn't live in Philadelphia. But this guy wasn't succeeding, and all of a sudden he did, and I could relate to that. And the same thing with Star Wars in the opposite way. There's no way I'm going to be standing on a balcony fighting my father with a sword.
Never. and there's no desire to do so either.
Right.
But, psychologically with Rocky, the other thing that makes it, I think, compelling is that it was all effort. And we can relate to that. You know what I mean? When somebody is gifted, I'm envious. I admire people who have talents. But I am moved by people who try really hard. You know what I mean? When somebody is just giving it their all, I just love that. That really does it for me.
Us too. A real quick story. We have in this studio lots of different types of guests. Let me focus on the musicians. We have some musicians that come in here that are outstanding, blow you away. They're so good at singing and playing the guitar. We have one young lady who's not quite at that point. But let me tell you, she's trying harder than any of them to get noticed.
Yeah.
I see her thing on Facebook all the time. She's just trying. And I think.
So let me pretend that I'm a psychologist with you, Larry.
Okay.
How does it make you feel to watch her try so hard? Isn't it awesome?
What a question. How does it make me feel to watch her?
When you watch her try so hard.
Well, let me add the fact that we do a radio show, so I feel good that we're helping her with her goal.
Fine, that's great.
Is that awesome? That's probably not a good answer because
it's healthy.
It's a fine answer.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, you relate to effort. I used to be a huge NBA fan. I still like it, but I used to love it. And do you remember Ron Artest? He became Meta World Peace. Do you remember that player? He was with the Lakers for a while.
No.
It doesn't matter.
No.
So let me tell you the story. He said something about basketball that I think was prophetic about life. He said, when you play basketball, some nights the ball goes in the hoop, some nights it doesn't go in the hoop. You can't control that, but you can always play defense. And what he meant is defense is all about effort.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying in life, I think what I'm saying is you try really hard, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you can always try. You can always try a bit harder, and that to me is inspiration.
There's a lot of life lessons in sports. And by the way, speaking of NBA, tonight the LA Lakers play the Milwaukee Bucks. So your team plays Robin's team.
So really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my understanding is I don't follow much anymore, but don't they have an exquisite record?
Yeah, they do.
I think we're tied for the best record in the NBA,
I think so, yeah. So this is going to be a game changer, an eye-opener.
All right, so I'm curious about the chapter titled "To Love, Honor, and Betray." What is that story about?
Do you want to hear a divorce story right now?
Yeah, I heard a stripper story. I want to
hear. Well, the stripper story is more fun. This story is really about betrayal, and unless you're really, really young, and maybe even if you're young, people have gone through a sense of being betrayed. For me, it was my divorce. It was a miserable life stretch. And also my best friend turned out to be not a great friend. So I lost two people. I lost my wife and my best friend. And because to me, loyalty is really important. And I think I once read Dante's Inferno, and according to Dante, the lowest level of hell is for people who betray others. And I agree with that. To me, it's like if a stranger betrays you, it's like, well, they're a stranger. But if you've given someone your trust and then they betray you, that for me is really one of the worst sins in terms of like moral fiber.
Yeah.
So that was a tough life lesson for me, but I'll tell you the lesson that I learned. I came out really valuing what I do have. The friends and family who were loyal, who stayed with me during that, I cherish them even more. So even in the midst of, I don't know if you guys have been through divorces, but they're pretty ugly, and sometimes they're really ugly. It's hard to find any meaning in it, but for me the meaning was you learn to appreciate good relationships even more once you've been through that, particularly losing a friend in the process.
Isn't it funny how the word pretty is an adjective for the word ugly? It's pretty ugly.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Pretty ugly. I like
pretty
that.
modifies
It's like the George
ugly.
Carlin bit. That's good. I love that. It doesn't he do that whole bit about, things that are like oxymorons, like military intelligence,
Right.
Business ethics.
Right.
Pretty ugly. Oh, he had one, jumbo shrimp. I always love that one.
Right. And by the way, I think the lowest level of hell for those who betray people who've been trusting them is why nobody names their children Judas. This is why.
Yeah, that's or Adolf, maybe.
Adolf, that's right. Yeah. Except he wasn't anybody's friend. He was just
No, man, yeah. Maybe his German shepherds loved him, but man, I think that was probably it.
Hey, what a great guest you are. This is such a fun conversation.
Oh, this is fun. I'm having a blast.
I just hope we're being fair to the book. For the listeners, this is really a fun book. The book is as fun as this conversation has been, but I don't know that we've been fair to the book. But it is 40 life lessons, 40 short little essays, all about Dr. David Levy's real life. It's called Life is a Four-Letter Word.
It is, isn't it?
When did the book come out?
It just came out a week ago.
Oh, my gosh.
It's brand new, and it's, I think it'd make, if I can plug it, I think it's a great gift book. It's the kind of book that, you give it to people, a spouse, a friend, a parent, a kid, and they'll enjoy it. So It's great for, Christmas, Hanukkah, but it's also good for Father's Day, Mother's Day. One of the greatest influences I had, believe it or not, as a writer was Dr. Seuss. I still love his stuff because those life lessons are entertaining and fun, but they carry you through. And I'm hoping this book does the same thing, You're
a young-looking man. You don't look... You said you were 60, right?
I'm 65.
Look at you. Wow, that's a good picture. I'm looking at the picture on Amazon. All right.
I'm more handsome, on screen than I am in person, but thank you.
You definitely have the actor's good looks going for you.
Well, not really. I am, like I said, I'm an actor in recovery. I was the star of a TV series in the 70s called Wonderbug. It was a children's show, and I was a guest star on Cheers back in the 80s. I haven't acted in years, but I miss acting. It's fun. So when I teach, a lot of it is performing. So I get my fix that way.
Wow, very fun to have a fun conversation. Honored to be able to have you on the show. I'd like to give the book away. I was sent a copy of Life is a Four-Letter Word.
Oh, man, that would be great.
So if we have a listener who wants it, call right now, 622-9622. I'll just pick one call at random, and you get it. The rest of us have to buy it, including me.
Oh, man, that's great. Thank you so much, Larry and Robin.
So go to Amazon. And do you have a website that you'd like to tell us about?
I do, if I may plug that.
Absolutely.
It's David Levy Psych, PSYCH.com. David Levy Psych, PSYCH, as in psychology.com, and you can read about the book and other things I've done, and there's some really cool pictures I don't include in the book. There's like bonus extra things, like pictures of from the stories in the book that are on the website. They're not in the book.
Neat. Well, I will look it up. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Larry and Robin, this has been a total blast. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.
Okay, good luck to our team tonight, Robin.
Fox News, I'm Pam Puso, summing up the impeachment vote.
Speaker Pelosi's House just gave in to a temptation